Unlike the priests of the most of the religions who have done nothing except creating clashes between the science and religion, and science has responded, science has reacted. A war has been going on between science and religion for supremacy. Once upon a time, the priest was the authority. The priest monopolized knowledge. Now science claims that absolute knowledge. The average scientist is the modern priest. It refuses everything that comes from religion, and it is very destructive. The world is suffering because young minds who are a bit conscious, who are unconditioned, they are throwing their weight behind science. They have become very logical, and in the name of free thinking, atheism, lot of mess is being created. Nothing will ever come out of this clash. Yes, there have been attempts to harmonize science and religion. But again, the desire for supremacy has always spoiled everything. Recently, Higgs boson was discovered in the hydrogen collider, and it was a great moment for the whole world, because now science is getting closer and closer to the fact to discover the truth of the origin of universe, of this our universe. How did it come into existence? They are trying to understand. So I was watching one panel discussion when this was discovered, and some priests have been invited to the panel discussion. And in a state of realizing, in a state of appreciating science for the great achievement, they were just trying to argue that everything had already been said in their books, in their holy books. It was nothing that the science had done. Everything was already present. And they were actually trying to get credit for this scientific discovery as well. Obviously, it offended the scientists there, and they reacted. This clash is good for nothing. The priest is never interested in any kind of progress. The priest is the most backward person ever found on earth. Even the tribal people are progressive, but the priest is never ever interested. He is fixed, rigid. And somebody was claiming the credit for the Quran, somebody for the Gita, somebody for the Bible. And they even don't understand these books. These books too have certain mysteries. And because of their insistence, because of their stubborn attitude, many people have rejected these books even without looking at them. They consider these books rubbish because they believe if the priest is an idiot, his idiocy must have come from the books. Read those books, you will find plenty of wisdom in those books. So this kind of clash has deprived humanity of vision and of wisdom. The writers of these books were themselves great experimenters. They tried to know life, explore it in their own way. And life cannot be necessarily and solely explored in a lab. There are other ways of exploring, so they explored, and whatsoever they discovered, they noted it down and handed their wisdom to the next generation. But there comes in the priest who hardly understands anything at all about either religion or science, the priest has to be thrown out, and in place of this priest, such experimenters as Jaggi, they have to be welcomed by science. And it is happening. Jaggi is being invited to several medical schools in the world. You see, science needs vision, otherwise it can be very destructive. We all have seen the destructive side of science in the form of nuclear weapons, and it is said that we all are sitting on the mouth of volcano. We have produced such destructive, disastrous weapons that if those weapons fell into the hands of some lunatic, maniac, extremist, some religious fanatic, or some political idiot, this whole world would turn to ashes in no time. Science has a great responsibility, and science cannot remain estranged from spirituality. And particularly, I repeat, in the light of what Buddha said, form is nothingness, and eventually the science began to discover the same things. Now it is time. And if you look at Patanjali Yoga, that was a great science Patanjali developed. Yoga was a true achievement of human consciousness. It is becoming very popular these days. Thanks to science, it has invented television, internet. This technological revolution has spread yoga across the world. Religion needs science, and science needs religion. A true scientist needs that his discovery should have some meaning, some substance. It should be able to help him solve the ultimate questions of life. And if religion has already tried to answer those questions, those answers should be, if not accepted as they are, should not be rejected either. They should be given a thought. I believe Einstein is an example of that visionary scientist, a spiritual scientist, a man of intuition who gifted the world with some of the greatest scientific insights. And Einstein made it possible all just through theory, just through contemplation. What the world is trying to experiment with in huge labs, he could envision the world, the way space works, the space-time equation. He could do all these things in a small room. How could he do that? Because Einstein made himself available to the knowledge that was already available. He received it. This could be a way science can be benefited by religion, by religious attitude. Spirituality is by nature effortless. It happens to the person when there is relaxation, when one is surrendered. And science, on the contrary, is full of efforts. Its approach is a bit aggressive. If science can become a bit relaxed, much is possible for science to achieve. And science can help spirituality a great deal. There are certain places in the world, particularly Himalayas. It is full of energy because countless people, countless yogis have donated their energy to this place. They have done their tapasya, their sadhana in the Himalayas. As a result, this place is pulsating, vibrating with tremendous energy, spiritual energy. Science can experiment, explore this energy and bring it back to the world. Not all can go to the Himalayas, but if science can tap this energy, and the way it has tapped electricity, solar energy and other form of energy, why not science can actually tap this spiritual energy and can enlighten others? The way the Buddha went to the forest, discovered something, and he came back to the world. He shared his insight with the world. He made it easy for others to attain knowledge, because everybody couldn't leave his place and go to the forest. Buddha brought forest to the marketplace. There have been so many people who have helped humanity this way. I always talk about Nietzsche's Zarathustra. He also went in solitude, and when he discovered something, he came back to share it with the world. As it is said that there is something called dark energy in the outer space. Scientists say that there is unimaginable amount of energy called dark energy, which is actually the very basis of the space. All the cosmic bodies, they subsist on this energy. They have been experimenting on this dark energy and trying to capture it. Why not the same experiment to be done with spiritual energy? Science can develop certain instruments that can detect that energy, and it would be a great help for the true seekers. You see, in the olden times, temples and religious places were built very scientifically. They were built by people who had realized themselves. So they themselves decided the architecture, how to conserve energy, in what way that energy will be released and would be made available to the seekers, to the congregation. That was the idea. A temple was a place of energy. But these days, most of the religious places do not follow this scientific approach. They are just like any other building. This energy principle, this law of energy, is still existing. It is still followed in some places. If science understands this spiritual energy, certain instruments can be developed, and with the help of those instruments, one can easily find out which is the right place, which is the true authentic place for meditation. It often happens that if you are sensitive and open, you go to a place, there you start meditating. But because the vibrations are so negative, they are full of jealousy, full of anger. In those temples, in mosques, certain people have visited, full of wishes, full of desires, full of hatred. So as you start to concentrate, those vibrations, they assault you. Now, how to protect yourself from that? Here science can be very helpful. With those instruments in their hands, they can always detect the energy, and then they can choose the right place for themselves. And as science has always fought to liberate the world from ignorance, this can be a wonderful way to do so. Because with those instruments, people will be able to see the real from the false. So it will expose the hypocrisy, the falsehoods of the priest. At the same time, the true seeker will be able to utilize his energy in the right direction. Thus, science and religion can certainly collaborate with each other and create a world which is free from ignorance in the right sense of the word. And when the world is free from darkness, we will definitely celebrate. And this has begun to me now. To me, this meeting of physics and Buddha has brought wonderful news.